I notice it the moment I step through my parents' front door. Something's off. The air feels charged, like the stillness before a thunderstorm. Mom's smile stretches too wide as she takes my coat. Dad's handshake a touch too firm. My sister Autumn practically vibrates with excitement, her eyes darting between our parents with that conspiratorial gleam I've known since childhood. "Sierra, honey, so glad you made it." Mom guides me toward the dining room where Sunday dinner awaits, her hand pressing against my back with unusual insistence. The table looks perfect, of course. Mom's best china, the crystal glasses that only appear for special occasions, a centerpiece of fresh flowers. Whatever this is, they've planned it carefully. I take my usual seat across from Autumn, whose smile reminds me of when she was 8 and knew I was about to step on the whoopee cushion she'd hidden under my chair cushion. Dad carves the roast beef with practiced precision, while Mom distributes mashed potatoes, green beans, and those Parker House rolls I've loved since childhood. That's when I spot it. A manila folder tucked beside Dad's plate, its corner peeking out from under his napkin. My stomach tightens. "How's the clinic?" Mom asks, her voice artificially bright. "Still working those crazy hours?" "Business is good." I keep my answer simple, watching Dad's eyes flicker toward the folder. "We've increased our patient load by 20% this quarter." Autumn snorts softly. "All those patients, but such a tiny waiting room. Someone should really upgrade your office management." The pieces click together in my mind. A puzzle I wish I couldn't solve. Dad clears his throat, setting down his fork with a deliberate clink against fine china. "Sierra, we've been thinking about the future of your clinic." I freeze mid-bite, the food turning to sawdust in my mouth. Mom jumps in smoothly, as if they've rehearsed this. "Family businesses need family management, dear. Your father and I have been discussing how to keep healing hands in the family long term." "It's not a family business," I say carefully. "I built it myself." "With our support," Dad counters, reaching for the folder. "And now Autumn has an excellent proposal that will benefit everyone." My sister straightens in her chair, practically preening. "I've worked up a business plan to become your practice manager. I'd handle all the boring paperwork stuff while you focus on patients." She leans forward, eyes gleaming. "I'm only asking for a 25% profit share, which is really reasonable considering all the growth I'll bring." My heartbeat pounds in my ears. This isn't a casual Sunday dinner, it's an ambush. Memories flood back unbidden. Double shifts at the hospital cafeteria during physical therapy school, sending money home to help Autumn through her freshman year of college while I ate ramen in a one-room apartment with furniture rescued from curbsides. Midnight study sessions after 14-hour clinical rotations. The $187,000 in student loans that still drain my checking account each month. "I already have a clinic manager," I say, surprised by the steadiness in my voice. Mom waves her hand dismissively. "But Autumn is the real people person. Remember how she charmed Dr. Wilson at your clinic opening? He barely noticed you were there." I remember. Just like I remember Dad dismissing my academic honors at graduation. Book smarts don't build practices. Sierra while photographing Autumn in my cap and gown. I remember Autumn's temporary help at the front desk last summer that resulted in unauthorized discounts to her sorority sisters. The weeks I spent apologizing to patients after her scheduling mix-ups left some waiting hours and others turned away entirely. "May I see what you've prepared?" I ask, nodding toward the folder. Dad slides it across the table with a satisfied smile. "It's already been drawn up by my attorney. Just needs your signature." I can start tomorrow." Autumn claps her hands together. "I already have ideas for redecorating your office." I take a deliberate sip of water, then set the glass down precisely on its coaster. With slow, measured movements, I reach for my own briefcase, resting beside my chair. "Before we discuss this further," I say, "there's something you should see." In the weighted silence that follows, I unlock my briefcase with a click that echoes like a gunshot. My father's confident smile falters as I withdraw a leather portfolio, the expensive one I splurged on after landing the contract with Denver Sports Medicine, a silent reminder of successes achieved without their help. "What's this?" Dad's voice holds the faint tremor of a man unaccustomed to surprises. Mom glances nervously between her husband and Autumn, her fingers fidgeting with her napkin. Autumn's smile, so triumphant moments ago, begins to wilt around the edges as I carefully arrange my documents on the table, aligning them with the precision I bring to patient treatment plans. 3 weeks ago, I signed a management services agreement with Colorado Healthcare Partners. I tap the top page where their corporate logo sprawls across the letterhead. They're managing all administrative aspects of Healing Hands going forward. Dad reaches for the papers, his brow furrowed. You can't make decisions like this without consulting family. Actually, I can. I slide another document toward him. I've highlighted section 4.3 for your convenience. No family members may be employed in management positions without unanimous board approval. The board consists of myself and 2 partners from CHP. Askin, my aided by Delatine and by Briefhim. Autumn's face flushes crimson. You did this on purpose. I made a business decision. I maintain eye contact with my sister, refusing to look away first. One based on previous experience. From my portfolio, I extract a folder containing patient complaint forms, all meticulously organized by date. These are from last summer when you worked at the clinic. I don't need to open it, the thickness speaks volumes. 15 scheduling errors resulting in double-booked treatment rooms. 23 unauthorized discounts, including 8 to your sorority sisters. 31 billing code errors that nearly triggered an insurance audit. Mom reaches across the table, her fingers stopping just short of touching mine. Sierra, honey, everyone makes mistakes when they're learning. These weren't learning mistakes. I stand slowly, finding unexpected power in towering over my seated family. These were careless mistakes made by someone who thought rules didn't apply to her. I withdraw another document, this one created by my accountant. This itemizes the $42,000 in free treatments provided to this family over the past 3 years. Dad's rotator cuff rehabilitation, Mom's plantar fasciitis, Autumn's sports massages before her beach vacations. The stunned silence feels like vindication. Their expressions shift from entitled certainty to uncomfortable shock. While I covered your healthcare needs, I was eating ramen noodles to make my student loan payments. I worked double shifts at the hospital cafeteria to help fund Autumn's freshman year. When you said you couldn't afford both our educations simultaneously, I lock eyes with my father. I slept on treatment tables when I couldn't afford both rent and malpractice insurance. My phone buzzes with a text. I glance down to see my clinic manager's message. Did you tell them yet? The timing couldn't be better, a reminder that I'm not alone anymore. My staff witnessed Autumn's summer of chaos, staying late to fix her mistakes while she posted Instagram photos from rooftop happy hours. They know the truth behind the Bennett family dynamics. My mentor warned me years ago that family and business mix like oil and water, I say, remembering Dr. Winter's concerned expression when she caught me crying in the supply closet after Dad missed my clinic's grand opening. I should have listened sooner. I gather my documents with deliberate precision, sliding them back into my portfolio in the exact order they'll be needed if this conversation escalates further. The methodical movement calms me, just like when I organize treatment supplies before a difficult patient session. We can negotiate. Dad's voice has lost its authoritative edge, replaced by the tone he uses when a business deal starts slipping away. 20% instead of 25%, a trial period. I close my portfolio with a snap. My clinic isn't your piggy bank, it's my career. Mom's hand flies to her throat, a dramatic gesture she's perfected over years of family conflicts. I never thought you'd put business before family, she whispers. The statement hangs between us, revealing everything wrong with their perspective. In their minds, my success exists to benefit them. My clinic represents not my achievement but their opportunity. I'm not putting business before family. I reply, my voice steadier than I feel inside. I'm putting boundaries before exploitation. Autumn pushes back from the table, her chair scraping against the hardwood floor. You've always been so dramatic, Sierra. Acting like you did everything yourself when we've always supported you. Supported me? I raise an eyebrow. When exactly? Was it during my graduation when Dad was taking photos of you in my cap and gown? Or when Mom told Dr. Wilson I was just the medical person at my own clinic opening? The memories surface like air bubbles in water, quick, sharp, impossible to stop once they start rising. Remember my 12th birthday when I got a card while Autumn received a new bicycle? Or my high school valedictorian ceremony where no family members attended because Autumn had a cold? I zip my briefcase closed. Your support has always been conspicuously absent when it mattered. Dad stands now too, his height no longer intimidating as it was throughout my childhood. You've changed, Sierra. Success has made you cold. No. I meet his gaze without flinching. Success has made me visible, and you don't know what to do with a daughter you can't ignore. I lift my briefcase from the chair, surprised by how light it feels compared to the weight I've carried for years. For the first time since entering their house, I take a deep breath that doesn't hurt my chest. I'll see myself out. I turn toward the door, then pause. Oh, and starting next month, family treatments will be billed at standard rates. Our charity program is reserved for patients who can't afford care, not those who simply prefer not to pay. Behind me, I hear my mother's shocked intake of breath, my father's muttered curse, and Autumn's theatrical sob. But for once, their reactions don't pull me back into the familiar dance of appeasement. I step out into the evening air, where my phone buzzes with another message from my clinic manager. We're all here for you. And for the first time in my life, I truly believe it. That night at my apartment, memories flashbacked. My 12th birthday falls on a Tuesday in April, unremarkable except for the math test I aced, and the single card propped against my cereal bowl that morning. 2 weeks later, Autumn turns 10 and receives a gleaming teal bicycle with streamers on the handlebars and a wicker basket for collecting neighborhood treasures. I watch from our front porch as she circles the driveway, our parents clapping with each wobbly lap. "Sierra, take a picture of your sister?" Dad calls, tossing me his camera. This is a milestone. I angle the viewfinder to capture Autumn's beaming face, her hair catching sunlight as Dad steadies the bike seat. Mom waves a handkerchief like she's sending off royalty. "Remember when I got my first bike?" I ask later, helping Mom with dishes while birthday cake crumbs still dot the kitchen table. She pauses, sponge suspended. "You were a practical child, Sierra. You always wanted books instead." But I hadn't. I'd circled bikes in catalogs for 3 years running. High school graduation brings academic honors, valedictorian, science medal, full academic scholarship to Colorado State. The auditorium buzzes with proud parents clutching bouquets and cameras. Mine arrives 7 minutes after my speech, slipping into back row seats as I return to mine. Traffic was terrible. Mom whispers when they find me afterward, empty-handed. "But we're here for Autumn's dance recital tonight. You're coming, right?" The pattern repeats through college. My dean's list certificates arrive by mail at our family home, while I work double shifts at the hospital cafeteria. The envelopes remain sealed on the kitchen counter for weeks. When physical therapy school graduation finally arrives, I stand alone after the ceremony until Autumn waves from across the quad. "There you are." She grabs my mortarboard. "Dad wants pictures of me in this. You don't mind, right?" For 20 minutes, I watch my parents photograph my sister wearing my hard-earned cap, their backs to my honors cords and the diploma case clutched in my hands. "Book smarts don't build practices, Sierra," Dad says later, returning my cap without meeting my eyes. 4 years after graduation, I'm hunched over my laptop at midnight, the clinic dark except for my office light. Loan statements glare from the screen, $187,000 remaining, the monthly payments larger than my rent. Meanwhile, I've just transferred $1,200 to Autumn for her temporary housing crisis following her 4th job change in 2 years. My own apartment remains furnished with roadside rescues, a coffee table with uneven legs, a sofa that smells faintly of previous owners no matter how much I clean it. The sound of my stomach growling echoes in the empty clinic. The bank manager's voice still rings in my ears from that morning's appointment. "Without a cosigner or additional collateral, Miss Bennett, we simply can't approve this business expansion loan." I'd nodded politely, tucking the rejection letter beside the others in my bag. Not mentioning that my parents had refused to co-sign but had purchased Autumn a new car the previous month because she needs reliable transportation for interviews. The treatment table becomes my bed that night. I curl onto the paper-covered vinyl, wrapping myself in a patient blanket after 16 hours of back-to-back appointments followed by insurance paperwork. The cleaning crew finds me there at 5 a.m., still clutching spreadsheets. 6 months later, when Healing Hands Physical Therapy finally opens in its own space, not just a rented room in someone else's clinic, my parents stop by for 15 minutes between Autumn's bridal shower and their dinner reservation. "It's nice," Mom says, glancing at her watch, "like a real doctor's office." Dad peers at my framed credentials. "Just remember, it's always about the people, not the degrees." They leave before the small reception begins, missing the champagne toast from my 3-person staff and the ribbon-cutting photo for the local business journal. The summer Autumn decides to help out at the front desk becomes a professional nightmare. Her sorority sisters receive unauthorized discounts while regular patients find their appointments rescheduled or canceled entirely. Insurance forms pile up unprocessed until late night hours, when I discover them stuffed into desk drawers. They were so boring. Autumn explains when confronted. Besides, they're just old people with Medicare. They don't have anywhere important to be. After she leaves, I spend weeks making personal calls to every affected patient, rebuilding trust one apology at a time. The turning point comes unexpectedly during a meeting with Blue Shield's regional provider representative. The stern-faced woman across my desk has rejected our previous 3 claims submissions. Miss Bennett, your documentation simply doesn't meet our standards for... I slide a folder across the desk, interrupting her practiced rejection. These are revised protocols I developed, specifically addressing your guidelines. I've cross-referenced each treatment code with your latest manual. Her eyebrows rise as she flips through meticulously annotated pages. You did this yourself? Every night for 3 weeks. Her assessment is blunt. Most providers just argue or give up. 3 days later, the insurance company approves our entire claims backlog. Within months, physician referrals increase as word spreads about our exceptional documentation and outcomes. The first profitable month arrives after 2 grueling years. I stare at the accounting software late one night, verifying the numbers 3 times before allowing myself to believe them. No one is there to celebrate with me, but for once, the silence feels like power rather than abandonment. I realize something profound as I lock up that night. My invisibility has become my superpower. While my family focused on Autumn's charm and social connections, I built something substantial in the shadows. The skills I developed through years of self-reliance, persistence, precision, strategic thinking, now serve as the foundation for my growing business. Ellie Morgan, my clinic manager, proves this theory when she declines a hospital position, offering significantly more money to stay with Healing Hands. They don't value people like you do, she tells me, tearing up the offer letter. I've worked in healthcare for 30 years, Sierra. What you're building here is special. When Autumn's scheduling disasters create chaos, my staff stays late without complaint, ordering pizza and tackling the backlog together. We've got this. Carlos, my lead therapist, assures me as midnight approaches. You're sisters. Interesting, but we're a team. Every Friday morning, our staff meeting begins with each person sharing both challenges and victories from the week. Every voice matters. The cleaning staff included a stark contrast to family gatherings, where my input was routinely dismissed or interrupted. The call from Denver Rehabilitation Center's medical director comes on an ordinary Tuesday afternoon. We've been watching your outcomes data. To me, 2,000 people, she says without preamble. Our orthopedic department wants to discuss a specialized treatment partnership. That evening, we gather in the clinic after hours, not for emergency rescheduling but for celebration. 9 people now instead of the original 3, toasting with plastic cups and grocery store cake. To Sierra, Ellie calls out, who saw possibilities while everyone else saw limitations. In the quiet after everyone leaves, I gently lift my first business license from its frame, tracing the embossed seal with my fingertips. Tomorrow, I'll rehang it in the expanded reception area, a reminder that being overlooked sometimes allows you to build foundations no one expects to stand. 6 weeks after the confrontation, at work, my corner office offers a panoramic view of Denver's skyline, though I've positioned my desk to face the treatment floor instead. Through the glass wall, I watch Meredith guide Mrs. Hoffman through her post-stroke exercises. Meredith's patience mirrors what I strive for with every patient, something my family never understood about healing. The contrast between my modest office and our state-of-the-art treatment areas isn't accidental. While patients deserve cutting-edge equipment, I've learned to function perfectly well with a second-hand desk and simple chair. Every dollar saved is reinvested where it counts. I straighten the original Healing Hands therapy sign mounted on my wall, salvaged when we expanded last month. From 3 treatment rooms to 15. From me alone to a team of 15 therapists who share my vision of patient-first care, my phone vibrates for the 3rd time today. Mom again. I silence it without looking at the message. It will be like yesterday's, and the day before. Just checking in, honey, with a thinly veiled question about clinic operations, or subtle mention of Autumn's latest unemployment crisis. The calls increased after I refused their dinner invitations for 6 consecutive weeks. Mom cycles between guilt, we never see you anymore, and false business interest. Have you considered offering discounts to senior communities? Dad attempted to contact my accountant directly last week, thankfully warned by my advance call explaining the situation. Their most desperate move came yesterday, when Autumn appeared unannounced during our busiest afternoon, waving a folder of incredible marketing ideas that miraculously required her full-time employment to implement. Mark, my front desk manager, followed protocol exactly, offered her a seat in the waiting room, and called me immediately. I didn't interrupt my patient's session. The afternoon sun warms my face as I open my laptop, reading the email I've drafted, deleted, and rewritten 14 times. It's measured, precise, and absolutely necessary. To my family, as I have already told you, after careful consideration, I'm establishing professional boundaries regarding healing hands therapy. The clinic remains closed to family employment or management input. All treatment services will be billed at standard rates. Business discussions are limited to my management team. I remain open to rebuilding our personal relationship, separate from my professional life. Sierra. My finger hovers over send as my office door opens. Carol, my clinic manager, appears with 2 steaming mugs. "Thought you might need reinforcements," she says, placing a coffee beside my laptop. "I saw the social media post." I raise an eyebrow. Carol slides her phone across my desk. There's my mother's Facebook profile, featuring a photo from my clinic's opening day 3 years ago. Mom stands beside me, arm around my shoulder, a rare moment of apparent support I now recognize was performative. So proud of my daughter Sierra's vision with healing hands therapy. We've always believed in her healing touch. Proud mama, family business. The timestamp shows it was posted 20 minutes ago. The hashtag is interesting, Carol says carefully. Family business. The words taste bitter. I click send on my email. They've never paid $1 toward this clinic, never worked an hour here, never believed it would succeed until it did. Community's noticing the disconnect, Carol says. Dr. Reynolds mentioned it last week when he referred that complex shoulder case. I look up, surprised. Said he always sends patients here because you built something genuine, not handed down or gifted. Carol taps my original business license frame. Said he appreciates how you acknowledge your team instead of bragging about your background. The staff meeting last Friday returns to mind, where I credited our growth to the team's dedication rather than my own vision. I'd noticed Autumn's friend Kimberly in the waiting room during the meeting, phone suspiciously angled toward our gathering. Which reminds me, I say, pulling up another email. The scholarship fund is approved. Starting next semester, we'll support 2 physical therapy students with demonstrated financial need. Carol smiles. Your mother called that wasteful charity when she overheard us discussing it. Exactly why it matters. I stand, stretching tired muscles. Any news from the accountant about their latest inquiry? Your father tried charm, then intimidation. Eventually left when Denise mentioned potential harassment charges. Carol's expression softens. There's something else. She pulls a handwritten note from her pocket. Your mother stopped by during lunch. When I explained you were at the Children's Hospital clinic, she left this. The envelope bears my name in Mom's perfect cursive. Inside, tear-stained paper contains desperate pleas about family misunderstandings and missing my daughter. The final line requests a family meeting to heal old wounds at their house. Naturally, on their terms. My phone chimes with a text from Autumn. Miss you, big sis. Can we talk? Just us? Carol watches me process these latest maneuvers. Your father's letter arrived in yesterday's mail too. Very formal, suggesting family mediation with his attorney present. I laugh without humor. The tables have turned. Their friends are asking questions. Community members are noticing discrepancies between their claims and reality. Through the window, I watch 2 therapists I hired from disadvantaged backgrounds, guiding patients with the skill and compassion I'd fostered in our clinic culture. The afternoon sun illuminates our expanded treatment floor built from my vision, my labor, my persistence, despite years of family dismissal. What will you tell them? Carol asks. I place the note in my desk drawer, joining other manipulative family communications I've documented meticulously. When they're ready for a relationship that doesn't involve exploiting my success, I say, I'll listen. Until then, my priority is protecting what I've built. In the waiting room beyond my office, I notice a familiar face, one of Autumn's sorority sisters who received unauthorized discounts last year. Today, she waits patiently, insurance card in hand, respect in her expression where entitlement once lived. The facade is crumbling, Finally. 2 weeks later, the morning air carries the scent of fresh coffee and possibility as I arrive at Cornerstone Cafe 20 minutes early. My chosen battlefield-neutral territory, with just enough ambient noise for privacy without isolation. I select a corner table with clear sightlines to both entrances and settle into the chair facing the door. Old habits from years of watching for their approval. I arrange my leather portfolio precisely in front of me, its weight reassuring. Inside rests every text, email, and financial record documenting our entangled history. Evidence collected not with malice but with the same methodical care I apply to patient treatment plans. Can I get you something while you wait? The barista approaches with a genuine smile, notepad ready. Just black coffee, thank you. My voice sounds steadier than I feel. The ceramic mug arrives moments later, steam rising like the tension in my chest. Through the window, I spot them walking from the parking lot. Dad's shoulders square beneath his golf polo, Mom fidgeting with her pearl necklace, Autumn's confident stride betrayed by her nervous glances at our parents. They've coordinated their outfits in cream and tan tones, a united front. The bell above the door chimes as they enter. The moment they spot me, their expressions shift subtly. Dad's jaw tightens. Mom's smile freezes. Autumn's eyes narrow at the portfolio before me. Sierra, honey. Mom reaches to hug me, but I remain seated, forcing her to awkwardly pat my shoulder instead. This is cozy. We would have preferred dinner at home, Dad says, settling into the chair opposite mine. Family matters should be discussed privately. This isn't just a family matter. I tap my finger on the portfolio. This concerns my business. Autumn slides into the chair beside Dad, her perfume overwhelming the coffee aroma. We brought muffins from that bakery you like. She pushes a paper bag toward me that I don't touch. A waitress appears, takes their order, and disappears with practiced efficiency. The moment she's gone, Dad leans forward, hands clasped on the table. Blood is thicker than water, Sierra. His voice drops to that authoritative tone he used when I missed curfew at 17. Family stands together, especially in business. Mom reaches across to squeeze my wrist. We've always been proud of you, sweetie. Always. Your father and I tell everyone about our brilliant daughter, the doctor. Physical therapist, I correct automatically. Doctor of physical therapy, Autumn adds, with surprising accuracy before launching into her rehearsed speech. Speaking of which, I've been thinking about our last conversation, and I realize I came on too strong, so I've drafted a new proposal. She produces a sleek tablet from her purse. A consulting arrangement, instead of management. 3 days a week, better social media presence, corporate client outreach. I take a deliberate sip of coffee, letting the bitter warmth fortify me. Before we discuss any proposals, there's something you should know. The Hendersons asked me an interesting question at their anniversary party last weekend. The mention of our family friends causes all three to stiffen. They congratulated me on my family partnership and asked when you'd all joined my practice. I opened the portfolio, revealing a neatly organized collection of paper. They seemed surprised when I told them you weren't partners in my business. Dad's face flushes. We never said. I have screenshots of your Facebook posts mentioning our clinic and the family practice. I slide the printed pages toward him. And text messages from the Wilsons asking about the family business your mother mentioned at Bridge Club. Mom's face pales. Sierra, it's just expressions of pride. Is it? I withdraw another document. This is Dr. Reynolds' email asking why Dad contacted him about partnership opportunities for the clinic. The silence stretches between us, punctuated only by the hiss of the espresso machine and murmured conversations from nearby tables. You've been watching us. Autumn's voice carries a note of betrayal, as if I'm the one who violated trust. I've been paying attention. I meet her gaze steadily. The same attention I've given to building my practice while you were telling your sorority sisters they could get free treatments. Dad attempts to seize control of the conversation. We're getting sidetracked. We're here to discuss Autumn's role. Autumn will have no role in my clinic. The words come out with a calm certainty that surprises even me. Neither will you or Mom. Sierra. Mom's hand flies to her throat. After everything we've done for you. Everything you've done? I extract a spreadsheet from my portfolio. Here's an itemized list of the free treatments I've provided to this family over 3 years. Market value, $42,735. Here are the loans I gave Autumn during my first 2 years of practice when I could barely make rent. $16,450, still unpaid. Autumn's face contorts. You said those were gifts. I said we'd figure it out later. It's later. Dad's businessman mask slips for the first time. You can't possibly expect repayment after all you've what? I cut him off, voice level but firm. After you missed my doctoral hooding ceremony for Autumn's sorority fundraiser? After you told Dr. Wilson, I was playing at business until I found a husband? After you dismissed my clinic opening as just another job? I place my palms flat on the table, steadying myself. These are my terms for any future relationship. First, my business decisions are mine alone. No input, no suggestions, no contacts with my colleagues. Second, any treatments for family will be billed at standard rates. Third, no more describing yourselves as partners or owners in my business. Mom's artificial composure crumbles, tears welling in her eyes, genuine ones this time, not the performance drops she typically deploys. You can't mean this, she whispers. We're family. Family respects boundaries, I answer. Family celebrates achievements instead of trying to claim them. Dad's face darkens with frustration. This is absurd. We never thought you'd actually succeed on your own. We were trying to help secure your future. The truth slips out so easily, so naturally, that he doesn't even seem to realize what he's admitted. After all these years, all my work, all my sacrifices, they never believed in me. Autumn's carefully constructed mask falls completely. It's not fair, she hisses. You get everything. The respect, the fancy title, the business. What about me? I'm stuck in a cubicle while you play hero in your precious clinic. There it is, the raw envy beneath the manipulation, the resentment beneath the charm. I close my portfolio with a decisive snap and stand. I built everything I have while supporting this family emotionally and financially. I'm not playing at anything. And I'm done being invisible. Cack. I leave exact change for my coffee on the table and walk away. Behind me, I hear Mom's quiet sobs, Dad's harsh whisper to Autumn, the scraping of chairs. But I don't look back. For the first time in my life, I'm moving forward without checking if they approve. The weight of their expectations falls from my shoulders with each step, and I walk into the sunlight standing taller than when I arrived. I stand at the picture window of my expanded clinic, watching the afternoon light paint golden highlights across the Denver skyline. 1 year has passed since that fateful Sunday dinner, and the view before me mirrors the transformation within. Dr. Bennett, your 3 o'clock is ready. Melissa, my lead therapist, appears at my side, clipboard in hand. It's Mrs. Abernathy's final session. Perfect timing. I smile, genuine warmth spreading through my chest. The waiting room bustles with activity, a stark contrast to the cramped space where I began. Now, patients sit in comfortable chairs beneath framed community service awards that have joined my original business license on the wall. The waiting list for new patients stretches 2 months out, a testament to the reputation we've built. Mrs. Abernathy, an elderly woman with bright eyes and a spine curved from decades of hard work, beams as I enter the treatment room. There she is. She announces to no one in particular. The miracle worker herself. I laugh, setting her chart aside. The miracle was your dedication to the home exercises. Nonsense. She waves a weathered hand. My grandson says you're the best in Denver. And that boy researches everything. As I guide Mrs. Abernathy through her final stretches, I catch my reflection in the treatment room mirror. The tight shoulders and defensive posture that once characterized my stance have softened. I stand taller now, grounded in my worth. Later, I welcome 3 new graduates to my mentorship program. They gather around the conference table, eyes bright with the same determination that once fueled my midnight study sessions. The most important thing I can teach you isn't a technique, I tell them, perching on the edge of the table. It's knowing your value. In this profession, you'll give constantly. Make sure what you're giving is respected. After they leave, I review the latest figures for our pro bono program serving underserved patients. The initiative now comprises 15% of our practice, a percentage that would have terrified me last year but now fills me with purpose. My phone buzzes with a text from Leah, my closest friend and leader of our professional women's support group. Ready for tonight? Your turn to share. A flutter of nervousness dances through my stomach. Tonight marks the first time I'll publicly share my full journey, family struggles included. The thought both terrifies and liberates me. Before leaving, I check my personal email. Mom has sent photos of her volunteer work at the community garden, her third message this week, that doesn't demand anything from me. Small steps, but genuine ones. Dad's name remains absent from the sender list. Some wounds need more time than others. A separate email contains a job announcement from Autumn, her first position at a corporate office with no connection to my clinic. The message lacks her usual excessive exclamation points, a subtle sign of her growing independence. The evening sun casts long shadows as I arrive at Leah's home for our monthly dinner. Unlike my parents' dining room with its oppressive formality, this space hums with authentic conversation. My chosen family of colleagues and friends pass dishes family style, their laughter a healing balm. To Sierra, Melissa raises her glass. Who taught us all that standing your ground isn't selfish, it's necessary? As applause ripples around the table, I think of the scholarship I've established for PT students from challenging backgrounds, the boundary-setting workshop I'll lead next month, and tomorrow's launch of our specialized vestibular rehabilitation program. When dinner concludes, I step onto Leah's back porch. The mountains rise majestically against the horizon, steadfast and immovable, much like the boundaries I've learned to maintain. You look peaceful, Leah says, joining me. I am. I breathe deeply. I finally understand that I can heal my patients without sacrificing myself in the process. Tomorrow, I'll treat an elderly man with the same care I once lavished on family members who took without gratitude. The difference is, he'll look me in the eye and say thank you, and I'll know I've been seen. I'm Sierra Bennett. I whisper to the mountains, and I heal people who value the healing. After 11 years building my family's restaurant into a local gem, my parents replaced me with my MBA-toting little brother. 9 days later, they lost an $850,000 deal I had landed, and then came begging for my help. The award plaque slips from my fingers as I stand frozen in the doorway of Riverside Ember's private dining room. The glass trophy crashes against the polished hardwood floor, the crack echoing like a gunshot through the silence. No one even flinches. Their eyes remain fixed on the projection screen, where my brother's PowerPoint presentation glows with corporate confidence. Riverside Ember Expansion Strategy, CEO Caleb Morgan. CEO Caleb Morgan. My throat constricts as I scan the faces around our antique mahogany table. My father's proud smile, my mother's hands clasped in anticipation, and my brother's perfectly pressed suit as he stands at the head of the table. My table. The place I've occupied for over a decade of family meetings. Jovi, Dad says, clearing his throat. You're late. We've already started the annual meeting. Annual meeting? My voice sounds distant to my own ears. You moved it up 2 weeks. The restaurant's 15th anniversary celebration is tomorrow. I've been finalizing details all morning. Caleb clicks to the next slide. Which is exactly why we need to formalize the transition now. The celebration provides the perfect announcement opportunity. Transition? The word tastes bitter. Mom leans forward. Honey, we've transferred operational control to Caleb, effective immediately. We wanted to surprise you. Congratulations, I whisper, but no one hears me over the sound of my world shattering. Just last week, I stood under the spotlights at the Portland Culinary Excellence Awards, accepting Seafood Dish of the Year for my king crab with tangerine glaze. The audience had erupted in applause, but at our celebration dinner afterward, my parents had merely picked at their food. It's nice, Jovi, Dad had said, swirling his wine, but not scalable. We need to think bigger. Meanwhile, they'd raised their glasses to Caleb, toasting his business school network and fresh perspectives. Never mind that while he visited during summer breaks, I spent countless nights perfecting recipes, building relationships with local suppliers, and doubling our revenue over the last 5 years. Now, I grip the back of a chair to steady myself. You can't be serious. I have a culinary degree. I built our marketing strategy. I doubled our revenue. And we appreciate that, honey. Dad's tone drips with condescension. You're fantastic in the kitchen, but Caleb understands business. You can still be our head chef. Head chef. As if I haven't been running this entire operation for years while they semi-retired to their lake house. As if the awards, the glowing reviews, the loyal customers who know me by name mean nothing. My hands stop trembling as clarity washes over me. I reach into my pocket, remove my restaurant keys, and place them deliberately on the table with a metallic clink. I'm not just your chef. I built this brand. Caleb sighs dramatically. See, Dad? This is exactly what I warned you about. She's too emotional about business decisions. Dad frowns. Jovi, you need to understand. This isn't personal, it's about scaling the business. Not personal? I laugh. The sound sharp and unfamiliar. You blindsided me during the anniversary celebration I organized. You didn't even consult me about changes to the restaurant I've poured my heart into for 11 years. That's enough, Mom cuts in. Caleb has an MBA. He knows what he's doing. And there it is, the familiar pattern. They automatically side with Caleb, dismissing my concerns as emotional overreactions rather than legitimate business insights. It's not just my position at risk, but my culinary reputation, the quality standards I've established, the relationships I've nurtured with suppliers and customers. As I look at them huddled together, a realization crystallizes in my mind. They've never seen me as an equal partner. To them, I've always been staff, the reliable worker who keeps things running while they make the real decisions. You know what? I say, my voice steadier than I feel. Maybe you're right. Maybe Caleb should take over. Their faces relax with visible relief. But remember this moment. I continue, stepping back toward the door. Because when you realize what you've thrown away, don't expect me to pick up the pieces. I turn and walk out, leaving behind the shattered award that suddenly means nothing at all. Later that night, I only meant to grab my apron from the office, not to discover the depth of my brother's treachery. But there it is on Caleb's open laptop, the West Shore Grand Hotel's logo glaring from his screen like an accusation. My vision narrows as I read the email, my fingers gripping the doorframe to steady myself. Dear Mr. Morgan, we acknowledge your cancellation of Thursday's contract meeting. While we're disappointed to postpone discussions on the $850,000 catering partnership, we look forward to your presentation of streamlined, cost-effective alternatives to the original menu proposal. The floor seems to tilt beneath me. That meeting wasn't Caleb's to cancel. I'd spent 6 months cultivating that relationship, designing seasonal menus, calculating exact food costs that would maintain our quality while ensuring their profit margins. $850,000, nearly a quarter of our annual revenue dismissed with a single email. I scroll down, nausea building as I read further. Regarding your inquiry about modifying the award-winning seafood offerings, we're open to alternatives provided they maintain the standard of excellence we experienced during our initial tasting with Chef Jovi. The betrayal runs deeper than I imagined. Just 3 weeks ago, Caleb had leaned over my station, notebook in hand, asking detailed questions about my tangerine glaze recipe. Just trying to learn from the best, he'd said with that boyish grin that always worked on our parents. Now I understand he wasn't learning. He was plotting. My hands shake with an anger so profound it feels like another presence in the room. 6 years of culinary school. 11 years of 60-hour weeks. Also, my brother could swoop in with his MBA and his PowerPoint slides and dismantle everything I've built. The next morning, I pushed through the service entrance of Riverside Ember, 30 minutes before the supplier meeting I wasn't invited to attend. The kitchen staff exchange worried glances as I pass, their whispers following me down the hallway. I pause outside the private dining room, listening to Caleb's confident tenor. The door is slightly ajar, giving me a clear view of the antique mahogany table where Marcus, our fishmonger of 8 years, sits with a deep furrow between his brows. Beside him is Eleanor, whose family farm has provided our produce since before I joined the restaurant. Across from them sits Caleb in a charcoal suit that still has the tailor's chalk marks visible at the cuffs. The premium seafood orders are simply unsustainable at our current scale, Caleb is saying, sliding glossy folders across the table. We'll be transitioning to a more consistent supplier with nationwide distribution. Marcus clears his throat. Chef Jovi specifically chose our products because we can guarantee same-day catch. Your customers will taste the difference. Our customers are looking for value and consistency. Caleb counters smoothly. Similarly, Eleanor, we'll be consolidating our produce orders through Portland Restaurant Supply. Their volume discounts will substantially improve our margins. Eleanor's weathered hand tightens around her mug. Those tomatoes you love come from my southeastern field. They get morning sun but afternoon shade. That's why they're sweeter than anything you'll get from a wholesale distributor. I can't stay silent any longer. I push the door open, and 3 heads swivel toward me. Jovi. Caleb's smile doesn't reach his eyes. This is a private meeting. With my suppliers, I counter. moving to stand behind Marcus and Eleanor, the people who've helped build our reputation for quality. Caleb sighs dramatically. My sister is having trouble adjusting to the new direction. Please direct all questions to me going forward. What new direction? I ask, reaching for the folder in front of Marcus. Inside are mock-ups of new menus. My award-winning king crab with tangerine glaze is gone. So is my cedar plank salmon with huckleberry reduction. In their place are generic descriptions: grilled seafood platter and fish of the day. You're standardizing the menu, I say, the words sour in my mouth. For chain expansion. We're creating scalable systems, Caleb corrects, standing to reassert his authority. Dad and Mom agree it's the right move. The stakes crystallize in my mind with perfect clarity. This isn't just about my job, it's about everything I've built. My culinary reputation. The loyal customers who come specifically for my seasonal creations. And now, the $850,000 West Shore Grand contract that could have secured our financial future while maintaining our standards. Marcus, I say quietly, what will happen to your business without our orders? The fishmonger shakes his head. We'll survive, but I've got 2 boats that fish primarily for Riverside Ember. I'll need to let one captain go. Eleanor adds, and I've been expanding my heirloom varieties based on your menu plans, Jovi. If you're not buying, I'll have to plow under half my crops this season. Caleb clears his throat. These are unfortunate but necessary business adjustments. Speaking of adjustments, Jovi, we should discuss your compensation package. The head chef position doesn't warrant executive-level pay. The final insult lands like a physical blow. 11 years of 60-hour weeks building this restaurant's reputation, and now I'm facing a demotion and pay cut while watching everything I've created being dismantled for the sake of scalable systems. Later that evening, after everyone has gone, Daniel finds me in the kitchen, methodically packing my personal knives. The kitchen staff is with you, he says quietly, his voice steady after 8 years as my sous chef. Whatever you decide to do, we believe in your standards, not his. As I wrap my favorite Santoku knife in protective cloth, the question weighs heavy on my mind. Should I stay and fight for the business I helped build, or walk away completely and start fresh? Fighting meant painful daily confrontations with my family, but leaving meant abandoning everything I'd worked for over a decade. What would you do when the people who should value you most fail to see your worth? 2 days later, the staff meeting invitation appears in my inbox with the subject line, Menu Overhaul Implementation, Mandatory Attendance. I read it twice, my jaw tightening. Caleb has scheduled it during prep time when he knows I'm busiest. The conference room buzzes with nervous energy when I slip in 5 minutes late, hands still damp from prepping vegetables. Caleb stands at the head of the table, my spot, his tailored suit a stark contrast to my flour-dusted chef's coat. Perfect timing, Jovi. I was just explaining our exciting new direction. Caleb clicks to the next slide, revealing a streamlined menu stripped of my signature dishes. We're implementing these changes effective tomorrow. But the king crab with tangerine glaze is our most requested dish. Lauren, our lead server, protests. We have regulars who come specifically for it. Caleb's smile tightens. The new menu prioritizes efficiency and scalability. We can't be held hostage to one chef's specialties. One chef. Like I'm just another employee instead of the person who built this restaurant's reputation. The changes hit like a tsunami. Within days, regular customers begin questioning servers about missing favorites. Mrs. Abernathy, who celebrated her anniversary here for 8 years, leaves without ordering, when told the halibut with preserved lemon is no longer available. What happened to the quality? Becomes a common question, and Caleb's response is always the same: blame the kitchen staff. Not his decisions. Not his leadership. The execution in the back of house isn't meeting our standards. I overhear him telling the Millers, longtime patrons who sent back their overcooked steaks. Lauren's face burns with embarrassment as she apologizes for food she knows isn't what it should be. The final blow comes when Portland Plate, the city's most respected food blog, publishes a review titled, Has Riverside Ember Lost Its Flame? The writer, who'd previously praised my innovative approach to traditional American cuisine, now questions whether the restaurant has abandoned its commitment to quality in favor of mass appeal. Inside the kitchen, the sabotage continues. I arrive one morning to find my specialty equipment, the custom smoker, the imported mandoline, the precision thermometers relocated to storage. In their place stand 3 identical deep fryers. Where's my equipment? I demand. Caleb said we need more fryer capacity for the new appetizer menu, Daniel explains, not meeting my eyes. Your stuff is in the storage closet by the loading dock. Each night, I lie awake staring at the ceiling, mentally recreating recipes I've spent years perfecting. For the first time since culinary school, cooking feels like a burden rather than a joy. The kitchen, once my sanctuary, has become a battleground where every dish is a potential conflict. The staff walks on eggshells, caught between loyalty to me and fear of unemployment. When I instruct the line cooks to finish the salmon with compound butter, Caleb countermands the order moments later. The recipe says olive oil only, he announces loudly. We need consistency, not improvisation. But cooking isn't manufacturing. It's art and science and intuition all wrapped together. Caleb's standardization strips away everything that makes food worth creating. After one particularly grueling service where 3 tables sent back Caleb's version of my scallop dish, I retreat to the walk-in cooler, pressing my forehead against the cold metal shelving. Tears of frustration threaten, but I refuse to let them fall. That night, I start documenting everything: recipes, techniques, supplier relationships in a leather-bound journal. If I can't preserve my kitchen, I'll at least preserve my culinary legacy. The next evening, after everyone has gone home, I find a small tangerine placed precisely at my station. Beneath it lies a handwritten note in Daniel's unmistakable scrawl. Your recipes, your vision. Some things can't be replaced, even by an MBA. For the first time in weeks, I smile. The breaking point comes during prep for the West Shore Grand Executive Dinner. The kitchen thrums with tension as staff rush to prepare for the most important service since Caleb took over. The $850,000 contract hangs in the balance. I'm adjusting the seasoning on the sauce reduction when my father appears in the doorway, Caleb at his shoulder. Jovi, we need to talk about tonight's menu, Dad says, his voice carefully modulated. Caleb has some concerns about your preparations. My preparations are exactly what won us this opportunity in the first place, I reply, not looking up from the simmering pot. Jovi, you need to accept that Caleb's in charge now, Dad says, stepping closer. This is business, not personal. The wooden spoon freezes in my hand. Everything about food is personal. That's why people come back. They don't connect with efficiency, they connect with passion. The West Shore people want to see scalable concepts, Caleb interrupts, not fancy one-offs that only you can execute. His words crystallize everything wrong with their vision. They don't want a restaurant, they want a production line. They don't want my food, they want something anyone could make. You know what I realized? I say, setting down the spoon and untying my apron. We don't share the same values anymore. You see food as a commodity. I see it as an experience. Don't be dramatic, Dad says. We're talking about a business decision. No, we're talking about my life's work. I face them both squarely. I'm not going to watch you destroy what I've built. I quit and I'm taking my recipes with me. The kitchen falls silent. Even the hood vents seem to hold their breath. You can't quit, Caleb sputters. Not tonight. Not with West Shore coming. Watch me. I haven't even reached the door when Daniel steps forward. If Chef Jovi is leaving, so am I. 3 more cooks remove their aprons. The sous chef, the pastry chef, the line lead, my people, my team. Later that evening, my phone buzzes with a text from Eleanor, my produce supplier. Wherever you land, your special ordering arrangement comes with you. Quality recognizes quality. For the first time, I allow myself to envision something new, not fighting for scraps of respect in my family's restaurant, but building something truly mine. That night, I sketch concepts for my own restaurant in the margins of my recipe journal, the pages filled with possibilities rather than grievances. The next morning, I make 2 calls. First to Anthony Vicente, West Shore Grand's culinary director, requesting a private meeting. The second call surprises even me. As I clear out my office, a business card falls from my desk calendar. Marianne Wells, restaurant space realtor. We'd met at a Chamber of Commerce event months ago, and she'd mentioned a prime location opening in the Pearl District. I pick up my phone, my fingers steady as I dial her number. Marianne, it's Jovi Morgan. I think I'm ready for that space we discussed. A week later, my portfolio slides across the polished mahogany table toward Jason Mercer, whose weathered hands have funded 3 of Portland's most successful restaurants. The morning light streams through floor-to-ceiling windows, illuminating the conference room of Portland First Capital. I've followed your work at Riverside Ember for years, Jason says, studying my king crab with tangerine glaze photo. Your flavor combinations are remarkable. I straighten my burgundy blazer, channeling confidence I've rebuilt over the past week. My vision is modern American cuisine featuring sustainable, local ingredients. The dishes that won awards weren't flukes, they were the culmination of relationships with suppliers who understand my standards. Jason nods appreciatively. Most chefs talk ingredients. You talk relationships and systems. That's refreshing. I've prepared for this moment meticulously, rehearsing my pitch while designing my business plan into the early hours. The separation from Riverside Ember burns fresh, but determination has replaced the initial shock. I won't just recreate what worked before, I explain, turning to the financial projections. I've identified exactly where costs can be trimmed without compromising quality. Before I finish my presentation, Jason leans forward. I'll back you. Your portfolio speaks for itself, but your clarity about lessons learned from the family business tells me you're ready to lead. How soon can you secure a location? A weight lifts from my shoulders. Actually, I've found a space in the Pearl District. The previous restaurant closed 3 months ago, fully equipped kitchen, excellent foot traffic. Jason raises an eyebrow. Impressive preparation. 2 hours later, I stand in the empty restaurant space, negotiating terms with the property manager. Sunlight spills through windows that will soon showcase Jovi's hearth to passersby. Each decision feels like reclaiming a piece of myself. Back at my apartment, my phone buzzes with a text from Daniel. Disaster at West Shore Grand Meeting. Execs not happy. Caleb sweating bullets. I pour a glass of Pinot Noir, savoring both the flavor and the news. The meeting Caleb hijacked from me has apparently gone exactly as I predicted. Daniel calls an hour later. You would have laughed, he says, his voice hushed. Caleb tried serving your tangerine glaze, but it was nothing like yours. Too sweet, weird consistency. He added too much sugar to compensate for using inferior tangerines, I reply, knowing my brother's tendencies. The executives noticed immediately. One of them actually asked where you were, Daniel chuckles. They cut the meeting short, saying they needed to reconsider certain aspects of the partnership. Caleb looked like he might throw up. I lean back in my chair, staring at the ceiling. And the fallout? Chaos. Caleb's calling every supplier, trying to figure out what's wrong with the ingredients. But Eleanor's not answering his calls, and Marcus told him the premium seafood he's been getting was based on your relationship. Relationships take years to build. I murmur. That's not all, Daniel continues. 3 corporate events canceled today. Words spreading about quality issues. Your parents look shell-shocked. The news should feel more satisfying than it does. Instead, I feel a complicated tangle of vindication and sadness for the restaurant's reputation I worked so hard to build. My phone beeps with an incoming call, Mom. I let it go to voicemail, then listen. Jovi, honey, please call us back. The West Shore Grand Dinner is next week, and we need your help. The family needs you. Please. Her voice cracks on the final plea. I press my forehead against the cool window glass, watching traffic below. When my mother called that evening, tearfully asking me to save the family by helping with the West Shore Grand Dinner, I hesitated. Would returning to help preserve what I'd built show strength, or would it simply enable more of the same behavior that pushed me out? The next morning, Daniel arrives at my apartment with a folder. Thought you might want these, he says, sliding a stack of papers across my kitchen counter. Daily revenue reports, reservation numbers, customer complaints, they're spiraling. I flip through the documents, noting the sharp decline. They'll blame external factors. They're trying, but the numbers don't lie. Daniel leans against the counter. The kitchen staff is with you. Just say the word. Later, Eleanor introduces me to specialty farmers from the Willamette Valley, who can supply Jovi's hearth with heirloom vegetables unavailable to larger restaurants. We walk between rows of rainbow chard, the morning dew still clinging to the leaves. These families have been farming for generations, Eleanor explains. They're excited about working with a chef who appreciates their craft. Marcus calls while I'm driving home. Jovi, I've got a shipment of Alaskan king crab coming next week. Premium quality. And I'm having dinner with Thomas Reynolds tomorrow night. I nearly swerve. The Thomas Reynolds? From Coastal Ventures? The very same. He's looking to invest in a new restaurant concept. I might have mentioned your name. The pieces fall into place faster than I dared hope. With Marcus's seafood connections, Eleanor's produce network, and Daniel's insider information, I can accelerate my timeline by weeks. That afternoon, I receive an email that makes my hands tremble. West Shore Grand executives requesting a meeting to discuss my independent culinary concepts. They've found me. Meanwhile, Riverside Ember's social media pages fill with questions. Where's Chef Jovi? Is she coming back? One review reads, food quality has declined dramatically, missing the previous chef's touch. My father's voicemails grow increasingly desperate. Jovi, this West Shore contract is critical for our expansion. Please reconsider. We can talk about your position. The crack in their facade widens with each passing day. Pride crumbles under the weight of consequences, revealing the truth I've always known. They need me far more than I need them. I stand in the empty space that will become Jovi's hearth, envisioning the future taking shape, a future built on respect, quality, and my unwavering standards. For the first time since walking out of Riverside Ember, I smile without reservation. A week later, the sight of my father's Lexus pulling up outside my new restaurant space sends a wave of satisfaction through me. For once, they're coming to me. I stand in the doorway watching as all three emerge, Dad with his shoulders unnaturally stiff, Mom glancing nervously at the for lease sign now sporting a bold pending sticker, and Caleb trailing behind in uncharacteristic silence. Jovi, Dad attempts a warm smile that doesn't reach his eyes. This is interesting. A bit small compared to Riverside, isn't it? I don't respond, simply holding the door open. The construction dust hangs in the afternoon sunlight streaming through the windows. Exposed brick walls and reclaimed wood flooring create exactly the atmosphere I've envisioned. We've been trying to reach you, Mom says, her fingers worrying at her pearl necklace. The restaurant needs you. Caleb clears his throat. We've developed a new proposal. He pulls out a leather portfolio. Equal partnership between us. You handle the kitchen, I manage the business side. With us retaining final decision authority, Dad adds quickly, for continuity. When I don't immediately respond, his tone shifts. The family legacy is at stake, Jovi. Don't you care about what Grandpa built? What we've all built together? Mom steps closer, her voice softening. We're offering you what you wanted. Why are you being so stubborn? I walk to the makeshift desk in the corner where my laptop sits open. You know what's interesting? You never once asked what I actually wanted. I turn the screen toward them, revealing my business plan. And now it's too late. Their confused expressions fuel something warm in my chest. I secured my own funding 2 weeks ago. The lease is signed. I pull out a folder and remove a document with the West Shore Grand logo emblazoned across the top. And this arrived yesterday. And this? Dad snatches it, eyes widening as he reads. This is a letter of intent for partnership. $500,000? Exclusive arrangement featuring my signature dishes. I can't help the pride in my voice. They were quite interested in working with the actual chef behind the award-winning menu, not a corporate substitute. You can't do this, Caleb stammers. The West Shore deal was ours. It was mine. I cultivated that relationship for 3 years. I moved to the center of the room. I didn't want partnership. I wanted respect. And I found investors who give me both. From another folder, I withdraw a stack of papers and hand them to my father. These might interest you too. He flips through the printouts, color draining from his face. Online reviews of Riverside Ember since my departure. Quality has plummeted. Not the same restaurant. Where's the chef who made this place special? Mom peers over his shoulder, her hand covering her mouth. I walk past them toward the kitchen area, gesturing at the space around us. The hood ventilation goes in next week. We're keeping the open kitchen concept, but expanding the chef's counter to seat 12. I ignore their attempts to interject. The wine program will feature small local vineyards, and we're installing a wood-fired oven there. Dad's face reddens. You're making a mistake. The Riverside Ember name has recognition. People know us. Maybe. I was never building your brand. I was building mine. The truth feels liberating. People came for my food, not your name. That's what you never understood. The front door chimes, and 2 men in coveralls enter, carrying a large package. Delivery for Jovi Morgan? Perfect timing, I say, signing for the package. The men carefully unwrap it, revealing a copper sign with hand-hammered letters, Jovi's Hearth. The men hold it up against the exposed brick wall above, where the entrance to the dining room will be. Soft copper glows in the afternoon light. You'll lose everything, Caleb says, but his voice wavers. I already did. 11 years of work, my family's trust. I turn to face him fully. But I'm building something better. Caleb's perfect composure finally cracks. We can't recreate your dishes. Nothing tastes the same. The seafood supplier won't even return my calls. That's because cooking isn't a business formula. It's a relationship with the food and the people you serve. I run my hand along the reclaimed wood counter. You can't quantify passion or scale personal connection. When they leave, shoulders slumped in defeat, I stand in the center of my space. My restaurant. My future. The satisfaction is deeper than I expected. 2 weeks later, Daniel forwards me an email about Riverside Ember seeking a bridge loan to cover operational shortfalls. Regular customers have been drifting away, and rumors spread about a complete menu overhaul in a desperate bid to rebrand. The family question remains unresolved. My phone shows 3 missed calls from Mom just today, but I'm not ready to answer. Not yet. There's too much to do, too much at stake. On the night of Jovi's Hearth soft opening, I weave between tables filled with food critics, loyal former customers, and industry friends. The kitchen hums with the beautiful chaos I've created, executing my vision precisely as I imagined. Near closing, I emerge for a final greeting round when I spot her, my mother, sitting alone at a corner table, a half-finished plate of my king crab with tangerine glaze before her. Our eyes meet across the room, and for the first time in months, I see something beyond the disappointment and manipulation. Recognition. 6 months later, the copper saucepan sings against the flame as I reduce the tangerine glaze, no longer needing to justify my decision to triple the fresh fruit or the splash of bourbon I add on instinct. Behind me, 3 line cooks move with practiced precision, their knives flashing as they prep for tonight's service. Chef, we're ready for the tasting menu review. Daniel calls, now my executive sous chef, rather than just an ally in a kitchen that never truly valued either of us. I nod, allowing myself a moment to admire the gleaming expanse of Jovi's Hearth. My restaurant, my vision, my rules. The fall menu changes I've planned celebrate local harvests rather than compromising with frozen substitutes Caleb would have insisted upon. The seasonal rotation has become our hallmark, drawing praise from critics who once barely knew Riverside Ember existed. Coming. I answer, wiping my hands on my apron as I move toward the prep station where Zoe, a culinary student I've taken under my wing, anxiously awaits my verdict on her sauce work. The consistency is perfect, I tell her, remembering how my mother once dismissed my first reduction as too fussy. I add, now tell me why you chose thyme instead of rosemary. Her explanation shows promise. This is how mentorship should feel, not dismissal dressed as guidance, but genuine investment in someone's growth. Later, my phone buzzes with another reservation request. We're booked solid through December, with food critics from Chicago and New York requesting tables. National press attention has turned our corner of Portland into a destination, vindicating every sleepless night spent perfecting recipes in my tiny apartment kitchen after leaving my family's restaurant. The afternoon mail brings an envelope from the American Culinary Federation. Inside, an invitation to next month's awards ceremony, where Jovi's Hearth is nominated for Restaurant of the Year. The same ceremony where, just 18 months ago, I stood clutching an award while my parents whispered about my brother's business acumen. When the announcement comes at the gala, I don't drop the plaque in shock like last time. Instead, I accept it with steady hands, the spotlight warm on my face as I thank my team by name: Daniel, Eleanor, who still supplies our produce, Marcus, whose seafood makes our signature dishes possible, and every cook who believed enough to follow me. Success isn't just about proving others wrong. I tell the audience, my voice carrying confidence I've earned through fire. It's about proving yourself right. Back at the restaurant, we gather after closing. Eleanor brings champagne while Marcus proudly displays the first advance copy of my cookbook. Daniel uncorks the bottle with a satisfying pop, filling glasses around our family table, the one where staff meals are shared, not where decisions are dictated. To building something that truly reflects who we are, I toast, not who others think we should be. Their glasses rise in response, light catching the bubbles inside. The next morning, spread across my desk, 5 different expansion offers from luxury hotels sit alongside an invitation to judge the Pacific Northwest culinary competition. My grandfather's weathered photo watches from its frame beside my awards, his original diner that started it all, before business plans and MBAs entered our family vocabulary. A knock at my office door reveals Caleb, resume in hand, here for the operations director interview I agreed to after our mother's tearful intervention at Christmas. As I consider whether to bring my brother into my business, I wonder if some family relationships can be rebuilt on new foundations, or if some bridges, once burned, should stay crossed. Would you give someone who betrayed you professionally a second chance if they showed genuine change, or is business and family best kept permanently separate? Sometimes the biggest favor someone can do is underestimate you. It forces you to truly value yourself.